Boise's housing market is starting to change in a different way, and investors are starting to put money back into the Boise market.
From Boise having multiple billion-dollar investments all over the valley, it is quickly becoming one of the top investment cities in the country for investors, but for a specific type of investor.
So today we're going to talk about some of those multi-billion-dollar projects that we mentioned, as well as strategies for investing and the specific areas where we personally are excited about and where the smart money is going.
Yeah, exactly. And for those of you who don't know, we at Boise Real Estate Insights, Jesse Taff and Brady Fagel, we are Boise locals and real estate agents, and we're here to provide value and information for those of you who live here locally. It's also valuable for people moving here, but our big goal, me and Jesse, is we got into real estate. We love helping people. Real estate is the fun part of it, but we're really here to build relationships, take you guys individually, learn your situations, and advise you on what is going to be the best situation for you, whether that's real estate or it's not real estate. We're here to truly, hopefully, build relationships and help everybody that reaches out to us and wants to work with me and Jesse.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we do this on a day-to-day basis, from home buyers, home sellers, new construction to resale, as well as investors, especially why we're putting this video out, especially over the last few months with, again, money coming back in on the investment front. We want to hear from you guys, so reach out to us, leave comments in the comments section, and hopefully we get a chance to meet a lot of you in person. We don't bite. Hopefully we're just as good looking in person. But in any case, reach out. We want to chat with you guys and hopefully create a relationship. And if there's something we can help with on the real estate front, obviously we'd love to do that.
For sure. Yeah, know that when you reach out to us, you actually get me and Jesse. But let's dive into a topic we haven't talked about here on the channel: investing. The first part of talking about investments and investors coming to the Boise area is just the overall Boise market. What is expanding here? What is causing the growth? What makes other areas more potential for investment than others? So we've had videos on some of these in pieces, right? But just talking about them as a whole, I mean, you have things like Micron, District of 10 Mile, all of these things coming in.
And those are just the big, I mean, headline type stuff that's happening. There's a lot of consistent little things that are obviously adding to it as well. And it's not just why we think investors should maybe look here, it's more why they are actually already starting to come out, I'd say middle of this year, really heavily, like right now, like this fall.
Yeah, there's been a big uptick in investors for sure.
And the other piece with that too is, I know we're going to get comments on it, you know, BlackRock or these big corporations buying up hundreds and hundreds of homes. Yes, it is happening. It's not happening that much here. Like what we're speaking to is probably a lot of you watching that own a home that are thinking like, well, I have done really well in the stock market, or I have my 401k that I want to diversify. Let me pick up one rental home, two rental homes, you know, one rental home every couple years. So it's, I would say, more like everyday investors we're speaking to, not to these giant conglomerates that buy up entire subdivisions and turn them into a rental community.
Yeah, and I think that gets overblown a lot too.
Yeah.
I think the last stat I saw was like 7% of investment properties are like from BlackRock and big. Everything else is mom and pop. You own 2 to 10 rental properties. That's most investors, right? And
it is getting harder though. So this is where like, it hopefully it doesn't, but it may shift to where corporations like a BlackRock, just as an example, have the ability to scoop up more things than everyday mom and pop investors, just because the numbers are a little bit more difficult, which we'll talk through a little bit later.
Yeah, and then going back to the things driving people to the Boise area. So
keep me on track.
Yeah, literally just had an investor yesterday talking through some of these items. So the biggest one, I think, is the Micron one. That is kind of the big one, which we'll go into details at the end of this section. But there's other little things too. There's the District of 10 Mile. There's things like Costco coming in. The District of 10 Mile is a lot of entertainment, right? More things like the Village. You're going to have different restaurants, different entertainment venues, things like that. You just have generally a lot of growth. You have a lot of businesses moving here as well. You have the data centers out in Kuna, things like that. And the other piece of this too is California, Oregon, and Washington continue to just not get the hint and continue to go downhill. I mean, it's every month I hear more and more people talking to us saying it just keeps getting worse. And there's been more and more people moving here, which you think it would stay consistent, but there's more and more people.
Honestly, like when I first saw this growth potential happening, long time ago, even before I was in real estate, I would have never predicted that it would have lasted this long. And like Brady mentioned, it hasn't just sustained, it hasn't even plateaued. If anything, there's ebbs and flows, but if anything, it just continues to increase with the how rapid people are leaving those areas and coming to places like this. Other areas as well, but specifically to Idaho, Treasure Valley area.
Yeah.
It keeps coming in masses, and yes, a lot of those individuals leaving here are figuring out remote work or work here locally, which is a big topic we'll mention here in a second. And a lot of them are able to purchase homes, which of course is why we're talking about the real estate market and the investment potential.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what we're talking about now will bleed into the other point about the investors coming here, which is it's a different, highly specific type of investment here in the Boise area, which we'll go into a lot of detail about. But to what we're talking about now is, and I've said this in other videos, but what 3 years ago when I started in real estate and did the YouTube channels, people would come to me and say they were moving here. And now I'd say over the last 6 to 9 months, it has been, I'm moving here, and everybody that I talk to at work and everybody that I talk to in my neighborhood, it also has plans to move to Boise specifically.
Yep.
So there's been a noticeable uptick in just conversations around more and more people moving here to play on that point. Then going to, I guess, the job market and just more of the growth that's outside of this migration into Idaho. The Micron announcement, I think, is the biggest and most important piece of this growth in Boise. And we've done a whole video on it, but we've gotten new information since then as well that we didn't have in that video, right? So to give you guys an overview, Micron has actually started in Boise, has been in Boise for what, 30 years, 40 years now?
40 or 50.
Yeah.
Yes,
now they're building a manufacturing plant to build chips. The first plant is $15 billion, which they'll be done with probably late next year, early 2027.
Yep.
That's going to bring thousands of jobs, high-paying jobs. Then this year, they just announced a $50 billion one to build 2 more.
Yep.
Then we have now found out since that video, kind of inside sources, and it's not set in stone for sure yet, but it's looking very, very likely, is that a plant in Syracuse, New York, that was going to build a bunch of chip fabs is now canceling some of theirs and moving production over to Boise. So there may be a phase 3, 4, 5, and possibly 6. So basically for the next 10 years, Micron is just going to be building a ton of chip manufacturing plants, which I think has 2 big impacts, right? You have the direct jobs from Micron, and then you have the tertiary attractant to other businesses that'll follow.
I mean, I'd say like several layers, because there's, like you said, direct Micron employees within those manufacturing facilities, or really any technology facility like that. There's still subcontractors that are essentially living here, working there full time, but they work for different companies. So that's kind of layer 2. And then, like I said, layer 3 is just all the services. Well, it's almost layer 3 and 4, but all the services around Micron, which is going to be housing, hospitals, schools, retail, restaurants, food, grocery stores. I mean, the size of this is literally going to be almost an entire city worth of things that need to come in to support all the new people that are going to be moving. And again, over a pretty long period of time, but it is starting now, essentially. I mean, when that first fab is probably 4 to 5 months away from being done, they're not just going to let it sit empty. They're going to be turning it on, and they need people to do that. Yes, AI is going to take a little bit of that stuff, but not as much as some of the naysayers are saying.
No, definitely not. And we're already working with Micron employees buying houses here, and this is just the beginning. And the first 2 phases, so the 15 billion and the 50 billion, is going to be right around 15,000 jobs. And most of those jobs are going to be high-paying people that will be buying houses. And as a reminder, in Ada County, throughout the entire year, we'll sell about 15,000 houses, single-family homes in all of Ada County. So that's a house for the entire year coming in over the next 3 to 5 years. And that doesn't include the next 3, 4, 5 phases after that. And then the other part of this too is with chips being manufactured here, the 2 data centers in Kuna, it's going to be inevitable that other tech companies
Yes.
will move their businesses to Boise as well. So what I think is going to be happening is an avalanche where Micron is the snowball that starts, and then more and more businesses over the next 10 years. There's a reason that Boise has been called like the next Silicon Valley. And it'll look a lot different than I think San Francisco looks, but it's just the economic growth in Boise is going to be compounded over time with all of this Micron stuff.
Yeah, and that's where, and we've seen it already with bigger companies, Tesla moving out of California to Texas and things like that, where it's not just individuals leaving those states, it is corporations too, because the reasons individuals are leaving is safety, taxes, whatever, political views, blah, blah, blah. Corporations are doing the same thing. If they can leave a state where they're getting heavily taxed and heavily burdened with regulations to a state like Idaho or Texas or other places like that, save money, have, still find employment and be a successful business, we're seeing that migration of corporations happening as well. And especially with how much tech growth, just Micron, as well as a lot of other companies that we don't really talk about are coming, it's just going to continue to amplify. And this is where this video would still be valid for investors, and even obviously just individual home buyers, which I'm sure a lot of you are watching, would be valid even if this Micron expansion wasn't happening. Like, this is still, for a lot of other reasons, a very strong investment growth for certain types of investors and home buyers. The Micron stuff is just putting a little bit of urgency to it, because we have like a legitimate deadline of when we know a flood of people are going to be coming here to buy homes. Yeah,
and so you have those two big things that Jesse just talked about, which will lead us to that specific type of investor. And we're going to go through what that type of investor is. We're going to go through some of the investment strategies we're seeing out here in Boise. And then we're going to go over the areas in Boise that I think we see those types of investment strategies work best or have the most upside, and where we're seeing some of our investor clients looking to invest in real estate out here.
Yeah, and a little bit on non-traditional ways to invest in homes, or even to purchase your first home or your next primary residence. Things that I've done almost all of these that we're going to talk about personally. And again, we'll save that for the end and just go through it briefly, but it's not, there isn't just one way to do it. There's plenty of different opportunities out there, and sometimes you do have to get creative because the numbers are tough. So so we'll go into all of that next. Okay, now we have talked about all the things that make Boise an area where, especially now as interest rates have come down a little bit and they'll continue to tick down, why Boise is being more attractive for investors. But then that leads us into the type of investor, because it is a little bit more specific, right? You can go to Ohio and buy houses for $100,000 and cash flow $500 a month. Boise is not that type of market. Yeah, unfortunately, it was at one point in time very long ago, and for a very short window, where investors were buying, like, I'm expecting really good appreciation and I'm getting cash flow. Nowadays, unfortunately, it just straight up doesn't happen unless you're putting at least 50% to almost all cash down. And that's where, like, when someone reaches out to me, or probably even you as well, like, one of my first questions, and this is same with just individual home buyers, is what is your short-term goal with this investment? And if they say, I want positive cash flow, and I know that they're thinking 20 to 30% down, I'd tell them, then you're probably not looking in the right market.
Yeah, unless you're finding off-market deals. I mean, and even then it's tough, but
nothing's impossible. But I will say, a lot of people are looking for those things. It could happen. It's very likely not to happen. If we come across anything, obviously we'd love to share it with the people we're working with, but it's very rare. There's some very big caveats with the creative purchases.
Yes, there is.
Which we'll talk through some of that stuff
too. It's a diamond in the rough, which makes Boise an appreciation market. And we've talked about it a number of times. We've just talked about all of the things that are coming to Boise, but Boise is ranked the #1 city in the country for having $1 million median home value over the next 10 years, which what that means is that the median home value would double over the next 10 years, which is where the appreciation, more long-term thinking is with investments here in Boise. And I think part of why we're seeing investors kind of come back out of their caves, because when interest rates were extremely high, there was really nothing you could make work here. But now it is doable. And what happens is, over time, obviously the home appreciation goes up, which is where I think a lot of investors, that's where they really make
Correct.
their money.
That is exactly.
Yeah. And then the other piece of that is that the rental rates go up over time
Correct.
too. So over 5 to 10 years, your investment property is growing in appreciation, but your cash flow also tends to eventually get to a point to where you are cash flowing on top of it. It's just a longer term play. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And this is where, people are looking at the prices to the rent ratio and all that stuff. Up until recently, maybe the last few years, people were still flooding in buying investment properties in places like California, even though a lot of these cities they're buying in had a median home price double what we're looking at here. And it's because California continued to grow. As we're seeing recently, that isn't happening as much now. But out here, yes, we're going to continue to see rent prices increase. We just talked about all the influx and growth here, which some of that growth is going to be a renter pool. And we have still extremely low vacancy rates, which is sustained and continued for a very long time. And those, again, that helps to compound, like, sure, maybe you aren't going to have positive cash flow the first couple years. Obviously factor that into your calculation, but the projected appreciation is going to far outweigh negative cash flow or even positive cash flow in some of these other cities when you're buying $150,000 home that doesn't appreciate at all, most likely, in some other states and cities. So that's where investors truly do make the long-term investment valuable, is appreciation versus the small monthly income.
Exactly. And then another piece of this too that I didn't mention in the first one, but with people moving here, I have a number of clients that are moving from California and they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 investment properties in California and they're 1031ing them over to Idaho. So it's not just people moving here, but it's investors moving here and then bringing their investment properties over to Boise as well, which just adds to that.
Yeah, we see lots of that, and that has continued because a lot of times those properties are cash, so they're not really concerned or interested in interest rates. And again, it might not be where you get 1-to-1 in terms of rent, because rent is obviously higher in California, but and we won't dive into details in this, but the ability to be a landlord in Idaho is significantly better in your favor than in a lot of these other states where people are either leaving personally or leaving their investment properties and switching them over to here.
Yep, exactly. And then going back over to the other types of strategies people are moving, right? Like, love you to share some of the strategies you have utilized over the last couple of years.
Again, and this is where there's a lot of different ways to figure out a solution to each person's a lot of different solutions to each person's situation. And some of the creative ways are, one, there are many different loan types, which we'll speak to in a second, but more so getting creative with how to, I'd say, come up with the capital. And I've done this before over the years through several of the investment properties we've had, is maybe you don't have the full 20%, 30%, or whatever you want or need to get down to make the numbers work. Partnering with people. So I've partnered with family before where, hey, I found an amazing deal. I didn't have 100% of the capital I needed. Or actually, there was the first purchase. I didn't have any of the capital we needed. And I said, this is a great opportunity. You guys purchase it. I will find it. I will help secure it. I will manage, run it, and do all the things necessary. And over time, I will pay back my portion of the investment. And in 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, we'll become 50-50 owners. And I've done that with the first duplex we purchased, actually. So I essentially became 50% owners with zero money into the deal at the start, and then of course paid into it over time. Other ways is to find owner financing opportunities. And again, have done this several times. You do still need capital. There's not that many where you're going to go into it 0% down and have the numbers work. But a lot of times you can structure the deal to have favorable terms where, like in my specific scenarios, maybe we stretch out the amortization, so the payments over 40 years, which makes each monthly payment smaller, or we negotiate a lower interest rate, a lot of different opportunities there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and those are a little bit harder to find, and there's ways to do it, but that is one way to get around the cash flow problem that we have talked about, or even just the capital or I guess ways to get in, right?
Yeah,
Because
yep.
there are things with getting loans that are more difficult. There's restrictions there. I could not be a lender because of all of the red tape and rules and little things that don't make sense to me, but they have to follow those rules.
Yep.
So a little bit of a way to get around that as well. Those I think are the main strategies.
Yeah.
Unless you had something else to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the main, or the most common creative ones. There's a few others, but we won't necessarily speak to those just because we don't necessarily do those or fully, believe in them. But even through the traditional means of a traditional loan, there's still some actually really good advantages right now. And we are not mortgage professionals. No. This is not financial advice. Whatever disclaimer we need to put on there. But currently, the spread between a primary purchase and investment purchase is significantly less than it has been almost all of this year. And it does fluctuate, but we're looking almost at a 0.5%, maybe 0.75% difference, where even just earlier this year, the year before, it was a full percent or more.
Yeah.
So to explain that, if you're buying a primary home at 6%, that same person buying the same home as an investment property, they're automatically at 7% because there's a little more risk for the bank. Now it's closer to a 0.5% spread for now. Again, that could change at any time, which is huge.
Yeah, it's a big deal and makes those numbers make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Because and I guess that goes into the other one, which how all of this applies to people who are just buying a primary home as well.
Yes.
There's big opportunity in getting that lower interest rate, having the ability to buy down your rate more, and then turn that into an investment property over time in the Boise area. That's one strategy that personally I am doing more so. Instead of going and finding other properties, I'm buying my personal property at a really low interest rate, then utilizing that, saving up for our next house, and then turning the old one into an investment property, right? Which a lot of people do here as well. But this all kind of wraps into that. There's so many different strategies, and it's going to be personal to every single individual. But on that point, that's another good factor to utilize. And then I will speak to first-time home buyers and just even those house hikers out there. There is a lot of opportunity out there, and there is a ways to even just buy your first home through investment strategies as well, right? So
I mean, again, not everyone has someone they can borrow money for or partner with, but even my primary home, my wife and I were like, we don't want a big wedding. My parents were like, well, here's the money you guys can use towards the wedding, or it's like use it towards your down payment. And that helped us get into our first home at, 3% down 10 plus years ago. Or again, I've seen this a lot too, where sure, you might have parents or aunts or uncles or somebody that is looking to deploy some of their money into real estate. Have them help you purchase that first home and give them an equity share, have them be part owners in the property. Sure, you have 50% ownership, but 50% of 100 is better than 0% or 100% of zero. So there's ways to make it work that might not just be you, individually or as a couple trying to make it happen. You can get a little creative. So and on that too. I mean, I know a number of people that will just find roommates to pay per room, and then that makes their house affordable and it gets you into the real estate market. So just wanted to touch on that. But now we'll go into the different areas of Boise where we're seeing it, where we think there's the most potential, where we're seeing investors put their money in. I think there's a few different avenues there in the different areas of Boise, but want to talk to you guys about that so you know where to put your focus, where to keep your eye on real estate, and then we'll go into that. Okay, now the areas of Boise, and at the end of this, we're going to talk to you guys about an area we almost never talked about on the channel. I don't think we've mentioned the words before, to be honest. So
because none of us want to live there, but if you don't want to live there, it doesn't mean it's not a bad investment strategy, right? So starting off, I mean, all of the areas we've talked about and kind of everyone knows about. The Micron is going to be in Southeast Boise. So
everything around that.
Everything around Micron, Southeast Boise. Even when it comes to investments, if Airbnb is something that somebody is interested in, you have Boise State right there as well. So you kind of get a little bit more activity when it comes to short-term rentals.
So around Micron, which, I mean, this is where, again, this created a little bit of the urgency behind all of it. all that area is already popular.
Yeah.
Like Micron's there, of course, but Southeast Boise, Harris Ranch, all that area is popular for like lots of people that are coming here that want to live in Boise specifically, not just because it's about to explode with with new employees and jobs. So that's going to have some tremendous opportunity
for sure
in the short term, even.
Exactly. And then building off of Micron,
Yep.
another little inside scoop that we got is that Micron plans to have some sort of transportation into Kuna.
Yes.
So you have the Micron affecting Kuna, it being one of the closer suburbs to Kuna or to Micron already.
Yep.
And that's outside of where Kuna already has the investment side of it on.
Exactly.
Micron set aside,
growth.
right? Yeah, I mean, naturally, all the builders are moving out to Kuna. It's one of the last of more affordable suburbs, although that's starting to change. Prices have gone up pretty quickly over the last year. You know, you have Costco coming out there, you have the infrastructure coming out there, and it's the last suburb that is more affordable and still closer to the Boise area for those people who need to commute into Boise or want to commute into Boise. So you have that. And one note on that is when you look at median home values on Redfin or Zillow or whatever it may be, that information is complete garbage, honestly. When they're taking a look at median home value, part of it is if they're building lower value homes, if they're things like that. One of them says that Kuna has gone down like 1% in the last year. I can tell you, my house and most of our clients and all of the builds we know out there, their prices have just gone up almost monthly or every other month.
The margin of error for Redfin, Zillow, and all the other websites is way larger than 1%.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, and if you went to Zillow, Redfin, you just Googled the median home value price increases, you're going to get 30 different answers. Some are going to say it went up 4%, some are going to say it went down 1%. And so just wanted to touch on that. But Kuna, big investment potential there with everything we talked about in the beginning of the video, but also just the huge influx of people moving out there now.
I am going to throw this out there because I bet I'd put money this is going to happen. Right now, it is still really, really close. So a lot of Micron employees that go into the office at the Southeast Boise location live in South Boise, South Meridian, and now are starting to hit Kuna. There isn't really a highway or a major thoroughway right there. Public transportation is in the works, and I hope it happens because that'd be super helpful, especially just for parking out at Micron. That's one of the other insights. The largest parking garage in Idaho is being built in Micron right now. But to have a main road there, and there is room for it because Kuna is not overbuilt. Like there's plenty of space. If that happened, which again I bet it will at some point in the future, I mean, that's just going to be huge because now you're not talking 20 to 25 minute commute, you're talking 10 to 15 minute commute. And that just opens up the door for a lot of these thousands of people coming in.
It does, yeah. And that's, likely going to happen over time. And then you factor in, the district of 10 Mile in South Meridian area. That'll affect Kuna, but that's also going to affect South Meridian. So I think those are the two pockets in the Boise area that I think we see some of the most potential is the city of Boise. You're always going to have the things to do around there. You're going to have renters in there, you're going to have young professionals. People are willing to pay to be in proximity to the downtown area. That's always going to be there. And then Kuna being the next right now. Yeah,
and I would say we've mentioned Kuna a lot, but we've kind of talked about some personal investment ideas or even things we've done in the past. And I'll just ask you, I know the answer. If you're buying an investment property right now, where would you buy it?
Kuna. I'm currently trying to save up as much as I can to hopefully try and get more properties in Kuna as fast as possible.
And my answer would be the same thing. Obviously, if there's a killer deal somewhere else, I'd factor that in. But if I was just to pick one out today, I would find a new build in Kuna for ideally the lowest price possible with the biggest incentives. And that would be where I'd purchase an investment.
Exactly. And I've even been looking at trying to buy a cheaper property in Kuna and sacrifice the cash flow completely, even make a loss to just try and get properties right now because over the next 12 months I think we're going to see a huge uptick in the Kuna area. So definitely there. And then there's the area that we never talk about,
which is funny because this specific town, again, we've never really mentioned because in most of our videos there really hasn't been a need to. But I've had 4 doors in this part of town, and they've been extremely successful. It's one of my favorite places for investments, and even more so recently with some news, and that is Mountain Home. So if you aren't from here, which I'm sure maybe half or more of you guys are, you may not have even heard of Mountain Home before, because it's not really a town that people move here to go towards unless you're in the military or looking to be outside of Boise. But yeah, Mountain Home, I don't know what, 30 give or take minutes south of Boise. Still close enough where there are people that live there that do commute into Boise, especially again Micron. That's like the first thing you see coming into town is Micron's facility. But Mountain Home has a lot of good investment potential. Even investors shy away from it because it isn't your Boise. But the appreciation has been there because it is close enough to the Treasure Valley where those prices have gone up significantly. But in my opinion, the rent price per purchase price is very hard to beat, and very quality Air Force military renters.
Yeah, it's one of the few places near Boise you can cash flow. And you don't have as much appreciation yet. But there is still a little bit of appreciation there versus like we talked about with Eastern markets where there's almost zero appreciation.
And honestly, it's less, but it's not that much less. And all the things coming in, Micron, Mayfield Springs, which is a town in between, that's going to bring some commercial development. That 30 minutes is going to get filled in with stuff, maybe a casino, that makes that 30 minutes not feel as far out of town anymore. And as soon as Mountain Home gets maybe a little bit more amenities, I don't know if the appreciation is going to be much different than out here.
I would agree with that, And then that goes into the piece about Mountain Home that it's a toss-up. We'll see what happens, but there is talks of them opening up a sector at the military base to build fighter jets with Qatar. So that could add extra jobs there, more growth, more appreciation potential. And there's already not that many homes there, so
very, very few. The rental market there is extremely strong. So again, the duplexes we have, pretty much every year the rent has gone up, even in the down years or the years where maybe prices have been flat. Rent has continued to go up. It fills before it's even empty. And again, these are very quality renters that are going to pay rent, take care of the house, and I mean it's honestly, it's been an amazing setup that if I weren't buying in Kuna or maybe a different price point, I'd be looking in Mountain Home again.
For sure. Yeah, those are the two places I usually talk to investors about as well. And with that, I mean, investments, there's lots of stuff to talk about with investments. Every single person is going to be, widely different because it is a completely different avenue of real estate than just buying your primary home. It is more numbers based. It is more your situation and what means you have. And so when you reach out to us, sitting down and actually going through those scenarios and seeing what you're able to do is really important. But hopefully this was at least helpful in giving you guys, not only those of you who are looking to invest, but also those of you who just own a home in Boise or are looking to move here. It gives you guys an idea of what to expect, the different things with Boise's market that are coming over the next few years. And with the Micron, we didn't go into a ton of detail on it. We gave you guys kind of the bullet points, but if you guys want to learn more about the Micron investments coming out here, watch this video. Me and Jesse actually go out there and show you guys, because a lot of you, even those of you who live here, it's past the airport, so people don't see how big that is going to be. So watch that video and see what it is actually going to look like here in the Boise area.